All right, guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode 73 of the Elite Physique University. I'm Kayla, your host, and I'm here with John and Jason. What's up, guys? How's your week been?
Pretty good, Jason. I see you over there got a big smile on your face, so you must be having a good day, man. I'm always interested to hear how your day went. So why don't you start it off? Because I'm going to talk for a while.
It's been a good day. I just got done teaching a course at iLead, and that was cool. Had a nice turnout for that, like 23 people.
Nice.
So I'm doing more of that. So that's cool. So that was a good thing. Had a client, want to discuss, their prep and stuff with me, and they signed on. So that's good. Training went well. But my newest thing is I'm actually getting ready I started today a ketogenic diet. I think my insulin sensitivity just is not the same. I'm just not, I'm not able to stay quite as lean as I was, and it's fine. It's a fine level of leanness, but like, it's just going the wrong direction. And so the last time I did this is when I had my best gains. I did it when I got off the stage, I think in 2016. And then right into 2018, I grew big time after I did about 8 weeks of keto and reset everything. So I think with my, family history of type 2, it's one of those things, man. I've been pushing cars probably since I got off the Tampa stage. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. You bring up keto because you saw me. I pointed to my shaker. I'm in my second phase of keto. I'm going to do 8 weeks total as well. This is week 5 for me, and I'm actually right now I'm drinking your Essential Energy, the NuEthix Essential Energy. That's what I have all my
for workout.
I've got that to get my keto salt in because I'm going to go train after this episode, and then I've got this. I'm going to show it to you guys. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see this is our newest
new pre-workout, right?
Non-stim.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
I'd like to try that. I bet that's good.
That looks cool.
What do you got in there, dude?
So it's got citrulline, it's got beta-alanine, it's got betaine, it's got taurine, 1,000 mgs there, but it's got phosphatidic acid in a high dose. It's like the mediator version by Nutra. Really, really good. Man, it's expensive as hell. Jason, I'll tell you guys offline like what this costs to make. It's nuts. Like our margin's real small, but it's crazy. It's crazy the amount of research that's been done on phosphatidic acid. We just don't see it much because it's just so expensive in the supplement industry. But I'm taking
mainly a nitrous oxide ingredient, or what's its mode of action?
So it really helps turn on protein synthesis even more, and you get the most out of that you can. But all the research showed like 200% increase in muscle mass versus not using it, 260% more fat loss when using it. Man, it's awesome, but you really just feel like a machine. Like you feel like you just keep going and going and going. So
very cool.
So I'm combining that with the Essential Energy. So I go have good workouts because I'm on keto as well. And I know, Kayla, you and I talked about last week, we talked about doing a keto podcast, man. Maybe we do that pretty soon after you and I are about wrapped up, Jason, because you'll either be in the middle of it and I'll be wrapping up, but that might be a good topic. And that's, kind of transitioning over to what's new with me. Obviously, we just dropped this bulletproof non-stim pre-workout. So that was kind of our big news for the week. And then I got a Tesla yesterday. So I bought the Model 3 high performance version. It's man, it's awesome. So, I've driven some fast cars. Like Jason, you own a pretty fast car. You've got a really nice car. This is different because it's all-wheel drive and there's no combustion, right? So like when you push on the gas in a fast car, it takes just a split second. This like actually gives you whiplash. It makes you feel like you're in Star Wars when they warp and the lights start going past you. So 60 in 3 seconds is no joke. It actually scared the shit out of me the first time I did it. I thought, man, this is crazy, but I'm really enjoying that. It's kind of something I've been looking at for 3 years.
So how much was the in-house battery charger in case I want to get a Tesla?
So, and dude, I'll let you drive this because I've driven like 3 of them to kind of test them out. So I'll you and I usually see each other numerous times a year. I'll let you drive it. The key part is it's only $500 and an electrician cost me $400 to install it. He had it done in an hour. And it costs to charge your car, it costs about 12 cents an hour. So it's like if you go to bed at night, you plug your phone in, charge it. it's kind of the same thing. You just plug it in your garage. It costs like 60 cents if it's dead, and it won't be dead. So,
Wow.
I mean, you're talking about pennies to charge this thing. So yeah, everything's $5 a gallon gas.
So there's no gas at all, right?
None, man. Zero.
Yeah, that was a good buy, dude. Now I'm feeling shitty because like I just gassed up the Porsche the other day. It was $135, dude.
Yeah.
Ooh,
so
ow.
yeah.
I know, because I got to put high octane in that motherfucker. So it was like $5.75 a gallon.
Yeah, you got to
It's
put
a
the
big
good stuff.
tank. It's like 22 gallons. I was like, oh my God.
Well, so
yeah,
the other
I mean,
thing,
even Micah and I are like gonna go trade in his truck because gas is just so expensive, and we're in North Dakota where it's like oil fields are everywhere, so like gas isn't super like as expensive as it is elsewhere, but we're still just gas is killing us.
Yeah.
well, one more thing before we get to our topic for anybody that's just curious, Jason, especially you. Not only are they Elon's disrupting everything with Tesla because of, these cars and they're being electric. The most important thing, the thing I was the most impressed with besides the car was you buy everything on your phone or on your desktop. It doesn't matter. It took me 30 minutes to pick out what I wanted, color, all that. And then they build it for you. You show up to pick it up where they drop it off in the biggest city close to you. You're probably Cincy, Jason. It's probably where they'll drop it off close to you. I showed up, I signed one piece of paper, I clicked accept on the app on my phone, and everything was already done. I was in and out in 3 minutes, where you guys know when you go to a car dealership and you mess with all that, like you're there half a day.
Yeah.
So like they make it just so simple. Like it's just, this is the way.
But there's no bartering. Like the price is what the price is.
It's exactly what it is. And it's actually cheaper to buy a used one, or it's cheaper to buy a new one right now than a used one because it takes about 2 months to build them.
The people don't want to wait.
They don't want to wait, but I could actually turn around and sell that and make about $5 to $10 grand right now if I wanted to. But then the problem is I'd have to wait 2 more months. So like, yeah.
Might be a business.
Oh well, you know how you and I think. Like, Kayla, we'll kind of get to know you as well. Like that's the first thing I thought was like, shit, I could buy like 5 or 6 of these. But then I'm like, by the time you pay sales tax on every one, it's just make more money writing diets. So I'll just stick to that.
Exactly, I agree.
So Kayla, I got to ask you before what's new with you this week. It looks like you got a pump. Did you go work out before we started this? Don't lie.
I did.
I know. I could tell.
It was really nice. Actually, like it was upper body day. And I haven't had probably a good solid pump in like months because we've been going through the hormone stuff and like just like RPE 7 on everything. Like I was on an extended deload, and so now I get to train harder, and it feels really good. Plus it's like really hot in our gym, so we don't have air conditioning and we just have garage doors opening, and so it's nice, but it's just really hot, but it helps. So I kind of like it, but it was a good day. So, and then this weekend I'm excited because I get to go pick up my wedding dress. So we're getting married next month. So that's exciting. And then I started doing some in-person training again and had a few clients I got free first session come in. So hopefully we'll be able to pick up a few that way and have that. So overall, it's been a good week.
Well, you fit right in getting that pump before you come on. So we're glad to have another bro in the house.
I am a bro at heart, let me tell you.
It's perfect. It's perfect. So what are we going to talk about today? Are we going to talk about any bro stuff, or is this going to be science?
Probably a little bit of both, I think. I feel like that's what we do. But, talking about like me and being on an extended deload, like deloads, all about them this week, because last week we touched on that with one of our listeners' questions. So this week we wanted to dive more into that. So there's just so much around it. I feel like that gets so confusing. Like some people think of it as an entire week off, and some people think of it as 2 days off kind of a thing. So it just kind of depends on all that. So we're going to try and help answer any of those questions and scenarios of like it depends kind of a thing. But first, I think we should probably, for the listeners, define what a deload actually is. Like, is there one specific definition of that, or like, how do you guys think of that differently?
Yeah. John, you want to take it, or you want me to start?
Go ahead, man. I'm going to sit here and keep sipping on some essential energy so I can wake up.
So, I mean, the way I kind of define a deload is a pullback in training intensity, coupled with an increase in caloric intake. And we're obviously focusing on things like sleep, recovery, rest, joint health. And, you know, that has a lot of different applications, right? So like if I'm training a guy, I might only have him deload every 12 weeks. And honestly, if he's feeling good, we might not do it right away that way. Just depends on their feedback. If I have a female who's had numerous issues with hormones, you know, gut dysregulation, different things like that, I might deload them every 5th week. And I don't need a long one because I'm doing it every 5th week. We do a week, we pull back training, we up carbs, we pull back cardio, we focus on sleep, we hit some cortis. So I think there's different definitions or applications. For me, it's a pulling back in intensity, it's a focusing on sleep, and it's a getting more food in type thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. Especially, and that's what I think is going to be fun about this episode, is to see the little ways that we all three do things, maybe similar and maybe a little bit different. So I agree with you, everything there. The only thing I don't do typically, and it's depending on the situation, because, you know, if we wanted to, we could kind of branch this off and talk about, you know, Jason, you've kind of coined the term a cortisol reset. You know, we could easily branch that off, but to keep it more on the training side of things and not talk about that. Typically, if someone's in the off season, I don't add food. And the only reason is because I just completely cut their training out, except for like 2 days a week. And I tell them just to lower their RPE to like, you know, 7, 8, just go in. I tell them just go in, get a pump for 20, 30 minutes and get out. Train upper once, train lower once, get in, get out, and do your off day diet on your other days and just rest and relax. Now that's if they're in a gaining phase in the off season and their calories are high enough. Obviously that's something that changes if somebody needs one in the middle of dieting or if they have hormone dysfunction. So there's so many different things, but to me, a deload doesn't mean a week off. To me, a week off means a week off, I guess. So for people that are wondering, should I take a week off? Should I just do a deload? To me, a deload is you're still training a couple days a week. And I've noticed most people prefer that because I have people that are super type A and they freak out if they're not able to go to the gym and they're spending more time stressed out that they're not training.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of my little opening line there.
Yeah, I do the same. I mean, there's times where I've pulled people off for a week, you know, like you said, no training. But for me, deload is kind of the same. You know, there's a pullback in intensity, but we're not training at all.
Yeah, to me, the mental side of it's really hard too, because if you think about, you know, with it, we cover both on the show. You know, we cover advanced athletes and physique enthusiasts, and we also have some Gen Pop that listen too. And when you're a former, you know, fat guy or fat girl, you know what I mean? And the idea of not training,
yeah.
And I'm kind of this way myself because I can be a fatty real easy. I like to just move because I know I'm going to burn some calories that day because I'm always perpetually thinking in the back of my head, man, I'm going to end up fat if I'm not careful.
Yeah.
So mentally, that's okay. So if you're a listener and that applies to you, that we get it. We understand that. Do you deal with that much on your side, Jason, when it comes to like competitive bodybuilders? Do they fight you back? And are they worried more about fat gain or are they worried more about like losing their progress and their gains?
I think it's both. Like, I hear, you know, cause I have to do a lot of feeding up and resting, for other things. And, you know, but, you know, let's talk about it with a deload. It's kind of the same thing. You know, you're pulling back in intensity. If they're in a dieting phase, I'm up in carbs. And you know, if it's, something else, like, you know, we're not dieting, I might do like you did, not pull the carbs, up, but, you know, just pull back the training only. But yeah, I find that, you know, people struggle with it. But I just try to remind them, you know, there's a time for everything. And, you know, usually they push so damn hard that now it's time to take that step back and it's okay to do so. So I try to just walk them through it mentally as best I can. But yeah, it's a tough situation for people for a lot of the reasons that you stipulated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. It brings us to like the next point of like what Jason just mentioned was the overreaching side of it. Like how, you know, do you get to the point of a deload and stuff and kind of earn that right, I guess you could say. Because you can like anyone can go train and just do like your typical bro split, like push pull legs, but train at like not full intensity. So how, you know, how do we program for overreaching and stuff, and then where the deload is actually really effective versus just like you said earlier, John, just taking a week off kind of a thing.
Yeah. So, for me, overreaching, and I guess we can go ahead and define that real quick because some people won't know what it is. Overreaching is a point of there's two things in your training that get maxed out, right? You've got intensity, which is obviously how hard you're training. If you're going to use an RPE scale, like 10 out of 10 is your max intensity, right? You're going to failure. There's no reps left in the tank. So every set that you do on a workout, say you're training chest, every set you do, you're going to a 10 out of 10. That's maxed out intensity, right? And, a lot of people, you just can't train that high every set all the time over and over. So that's the intensity portion. Then the other portion that you've got is volume. And that's how much work you're actually doing in your workout and how many times a week you're hitting a body part. So, volume for a lot of people, the scientific way to measure it is sets times reps times weight. I can tell you in 2014 and 15, I tried to get my clients to measure that and they didn't want anything to do with it. It's too much fucking math, right? Nobody wants to do that. So I just measure my clients' total sets per body part and I get an idea of that, right? So that to me is the volume.
That's how I do it.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's simple. It's works. So when you start getting volume and intensity really high is what I'm getting at. That's what leads to overreaching. And there's ways to intentionally get there. And I do that with my clients, but overreaching is that point to where you start feeling tired. You're not motivated. Your strength's even going down. You're not sleeping very well. Honestly, contest prep is one big overreach. So, overreaching can also happen in the off season. So that kind of gives everybody a definition of overreaching. Is there anything I left out that you guys can think of there?
I think you did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to add. I'd be reiterating your points.
Yeah, I kind of learned about this with powerlifting, honestly, because I think we talked about this on our first episode when Kayla joined us. In strength sports, you push really hard and your percentages go up and the intensity goes up because you're lifting heavier weights, getting closer to 1 rep max. And you do that over the course of, say, 4 weeks, for example, and then you deload for week 5. That's just one example. And what happens is you give your body a break and then you come back. And the goal is to get stronger on the next 4 weeks. And then you deload and you're constantly doing that into a meat prep. Well, it works the same way for gaining muscle. So I like to personally set that up for my clients to where about every 5 to 6 weeks, I'm just going to have them go full intensity. And then I'm going to have them add an extra set to every single exercise they do. Now that's a lot. That's a lot. And do that for a week and then deload for a week. And then what I notice is when they come back, I say, you need to watch your strength. Is your strength coming back up? Do you feel better in the gym? Are the pumps better? All these different things. Is your sleep getting better? And the goal is to try and force growth. And that's what I've been doing since 2014. And it's really, really worked well as far as programming overreaches with purposeful deloads.
Are you doing that with men and women equally?
Well, back then I was. Obviously, since we've started this podcast years ago, I've paid way closer attention to natural females because that's mostly my client base.
Yeah.
So with them, it depends. I'll do an overreaching and then I'll watch and I'll listen to their feedback, especially after the deload. And a lot of times if I used to push for 2 weeks of overreaching, that was too much. Some people can handle it, but if they came back and they just weren't getting stronger and their lifts weren't going up and they didn't feel as motivated, I could tell they were still in that extended overreach period or they would need some faster. So I just kind of dropped it down or I just raised their intensity for a week and then we deload a week after that. So it's just kind of a give and take. But I do notice, Jason, to answer your question, females are much more susceptible to needing deloads more often if you push them harder, kind of like what you got to start 100%. The show.
Yeah. That's why I was curious if you did that with the guys, the 4-in-1, because I really haven't been. I've been more doing it, I guess, organically. I watch how they're doing, how are you feeling? I don't really usually program in an extra week where I, overreach them per se. I haven't really tried that. I'm curious about it. But yeah, that's kind of how I kind of approach things with my clients.
Yeah, I always I tell them you should feel all the things I said about overreaching. You should feel those tired, wore out, and all that. And you should be ready. You should want that deload. And Kayla, you throw this back towards you. I think that's what you were getting at, how to earn the deload, like actually train so hard that you have to have one. So I know my clients, they're like, fuck, I'm ready. I'm ready. Cause their check-ins on Thursdays, right? They're like, hey, I'm ready for this deload to start on Monday. Like they've got a few more days. Today I had a few people. They're like, I'm ready for this deload. That to me is a good sign that they're getting to that overreach point. But I don't know about you guys. A good friend of ours, Cliff Wilson, he likes to also say, sometimes I just go by feel. And if they start giving me the feedback or I start asking them and they feel like they need it, well, then we'll just take 3 or 4 days. So is that kind of what you guys are doing? You're just going back and forth with clients, or how are you doing it?
More so with men, yes. With women, I generally speaking, I get more women who have had issues. They've been in the sport for a bit. So I'm more of a 4-in-1 guy, and it's kind of a hard rule. There are times when they're like, I'm feeling good. Can we push 1 more week? And I may allow it, I may not, but I stick to it pretty closely with most of my women. And that's not to say I do it with all of them. I have a few that just seem to be resilient as hell. And, we might deload every 8th or 10th week. But I like you, I found women benefit more from it. And that's kind of one of those differences in training men and women. And it's just kind of how it is and how it should be programmed. And I think it's good for coaches to understand that there is still a difference there.
Yeah. I know when we get down to the natural versus enhanced portion, at some point, we'll start talking about that, all 3 of us. There's going to be a cool spot where I want to talk about some of the research that I checked out in like 2014 and 15 on assisted men going through overreaching and just the insanity of things that they were able to accomplish in a short amount of time training twice a day. But we'll get to that. So sorry, Kayla, if I'm taking us off track here. What else do we have?
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. I guess we kind of covered like why it's beneficial for athletes to implement into their training. Obviously that means that we can push harder. We take a week back and then like 2 steps forward, kind of a concept is what we're getting at. But, I guess that kind of answers the question of like, if a deload is a specific cycle or number of weeks, but you feel good, should you still do one? Like Jason said, sometimes he pushes it, sometimes he doesn't. I think I do the same thing with my athletes. Like my females, I'm a little bit harder on like, okay, we need a specific number of deloads, where the guys, I can let them go a little bit further, depending on how they feel and stuff. But, is there a time where we do take a complete week off the gym? I know I've done that when we were going through hormone stuff. My cortisol was super high. We took a week off and Jason was like, you're going to hate me. And I was like, actually, I am okay with this. So that's how we knew it was bad, because
you were
I'm one
okay
of those that needs that 4 weeks and 1 week off, or I will just keep pushing and then I'm in the crapper again with my hormones. So we had her, when she came to me, there was a good amount going on. So I was like, you know what, you've been training long hours, like it's just a week off. And, that's how we did it. And then we pulled her training back considerably. Did I put you on 3 days? Yeah, we were on 3 days and then after that, we were on 3 days for like 4 months, probably. Yeah.
So, there are times when I do a full deload. Other times, and by full, I just mean no training. Other times that I do it, I do have some guys that, a little more older, joint issues. And when those start creeping in, I find it best just to take the week off. It's hard to heal up the little niggles and things if you're still in there doing it. So like for those people, again, full day, full week off, a lot of walking, yoga, get outside, be active, but no training, and let those joints heal up. And I believe one of my guys, I took about 10 days one time. And it helped. I mean, his elbow stopped hurting. And we just needed time off. So,
I find it interesting too, as we kind of age and get older, Jason, we're in the mid 40s now. How much I know, but I've noticed our clientele kind of follows us as we age. You know what I mean? Like, we're early 30s, you had a lot of 20s and mid 30s. And now I notice like I've the last few years, I've gotten a lot more people my age or older, and I've had to really pay close attention to the joint issues that you talked about. And a lot of people like that need a full week off. And I've just noticed if they don't do it, here's the thing, joints and connective tissue, the muscle takes like 2 days to recover, 3 days max, right? If you need to recover your joints, and the research is there on this, your joints and the connective tissue and the ligaments and tendons, things of that nature, it takes like 5 days, like 4 to 5 days. So if someone's training their chest twice, or shoulders, that's a perfect one, for example, twice a week, shoulders, and you're trying to hammer them and grow, the muscles recovered, but the joints and the tendons and ligaments aren't. So over time, that leads to a period to where you really need to just not train it at all. And maybe, Jason, maybe that's that sweet spot of 7 to 10 days when you get older, because people think they're going to lose their gains in their muscle, but it's not. Like, once you've built that muscle, it's called myonuclei. Once you've built that, it's fused and it's in there. It never goes away. So you could take a year off, and as soon as you start training again, it snaps right back super fast. So we call it muscle memory in the bro world, but people need to think about longevity. And Jason, I was just going to point out, it's just something I see more as I get older. Not only am I have to do it with myself, my clients are aging up with me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've also seen it too, where, or I guess I've heard too from others that they like to take a whole week off, like after a show. So like, have you guys ever done that or anything? Like, I've never done that.
I've tried. I think I made it to Thursday. I went from no training, we didn't train Friday, competed Saturday, and then I made it to Thursday. And for me, that was like kind of a week, because the last day I trained was Thursday. But a lot of people, you would say take a week, Saturday to Saturday, but I made it to Thursday, and my brain said that's been 7 days with no weights. Doesn't matter, you were posing your ass off for part of the day. But so I've had people do it, and again, it comes down to how's the joints feel. If their joints feel pretty good, I like to have them still doing something, but I'll definitely pull back training right after a show. I mean, that's a given for me. We are not going to keep trying to stoke mTOR pathways and push calories up immediately. Like, we'll get them up, but we're going to work things up, and we're going to pull back on everything and try to let the body normalize. So.
Yeah, I do the same thing. So it's immediate deload. And that kind of starts during peak week, like you said, Jason. I might carb a guy up on Thursday. He's going to do like a little pump workout Thursday morning, but still, you're still training. But like Friday, he's off. Saturday, there's some posing and pump up. But I really like to have them deload the whole next week. And I explain it to him this way, because I think with competitors, as soon as they get off stage, they've got all this food in them, and you have not, kind of, Kayla, like you said, like you haven't been able to get a good pump in a while. Like, you got all this food in you, and you feel good all of a sudden, because you're not dying doing, an hour more of cardio and on tracking every little nibble that you have. So you feel good and you're ready to go train. And then lo and behold, if you go fucking train on Monday and you feel that pump, you're like, oh, I'm back. I'm fine. I'm going to keep training. So people don't want to do that. But to me, it serves the same purpose that we talked about earlier. If you're to the point where you're overreached, and you will be in a prep, you're going to make better gains if you let your body recover, because then you're going to be able to push harder and actualize those gains that were suppressed. Because, for, say 4 months of a prep, you're not gaining muscle. Now we're talking about mostly assisted, or somebody maybe just on HRT. You're not gaining muscle, like you're dieting down. So you're trying to hold on to your muscle, but you're training so hard that your body's trying to gain muscle. So all of a sudden you go and feed it. It's really going to happen well, but you need to give yourself that deload, or you're not going to be able to push, or you're going to have to take one sooner than later, I guess is the point I'm trying to make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nice.
I
cool.
agree.
I think that can lead into the point that we were talking about of natural versus enhanced too. With natural athletes, do you feel like they need to take more deloads and then versus enhanced? What do you guys think on that side of it?
Jason, I think you've probably seen more total enhanced. Well, I know you have. You've seen more total enhanced athletes than I have, and you're probably pretty close on natural side of it too. So I think you're probably the best person to start this off, because I think you've just seen more total of both, where mine's been primarily the last 5 years natural.
Yeah. So if someone has, hormonal support, but they've had issues in the past, but, say they're on say it's a female, they're on TRT and maybe they start some anabar. I'm going to be a little looser with my 4-in-1 rule because testosterone is supported. That should help somewhat keep cortisol at a little lower levels. They should deal with stress a little bit better on the body because recovery is going to be sped up. So I might do 6-in-1, but I mean, there's been times where I don't even care. You're on PEDs, whatever. I'm still doing my 4-in-1. But you can get away with a little more with both sexes using PEDs. I do think natural men, even after about 8 weeks of pushing hard, usually need that deload, even if it's just a week. So I might give them new training and keep intensity down and then add sets and intensity techniques to it in a week's time. But I think that on the men's side, it does help again, where you don't need to deload as often. You just don't. You're anabolic. You're turning your protein over more. You're building muscle more. You're recovering more. And so that's going to give you a little more leeway. It's kind of like like having a little safety blanket or safety net, under the trapeze artist, you're taking all this risk, but you have this security blanket. And so that's kind of the way I see it.
Do you think that just like allows men to train harder because they have like more testosterone, whether they're natural or enhanced, than women? Because, really it seems like their deloads, they just need a deload because their joints kind of hurt, versus like women need deloads because they like literally feel like they got hit by a bus, and it's hormonally more challenging for them. So do you feel like that's kind of the difference there?
So that is, but that gets swayed more with your enhanced female. So that is the underlying issue. Like I said, women are hit harder hormonally, but if that's in place now and supported, that's why I was trying to get that out at the beginning, was that, if they've got that support, we talked about how, stress on the body affects women more hormonally, it affects men more cardiovascularly. Well, if it affects women more hormonally, so then if you don't have that base in place, or that support, I guess I should say, the safety net again of the anabolics, they're definitely going to have that issue. So the anabolics do extend that for me many a times, just due to improved recovery, really. John, you have any differences?
No, man, I agree with that 100%. I wanted to talk about, if I were still working with a lot of enhanced athletes, one thing that I would love to do after looking at the research, and I apologize, I don't have it in front of me, but there's some really good research showing training twice a day for a short amount of time can really help boost not just strength gains, but muscle gains over a short amount of time. Now, obviously, if you're enhanced, you can push this way, way better. I would never want to see a natural female ever do this, like ever, ever, ever. But if someone is running quite a bit of gear, maybe they're on a blast cycle, they're not cruising, they're not on HRT, like they're blasting, like everything's super high. And for 2 short weeks, they wanted to train chest, for example, they're trying to bring their chest up. They train it Monday morning, and they turn around, they train it Monday night. And then Thursday would be 3 days from then. They train it again Thursday morning, and then again Thursday night. And you're upping intensity and your total volume. And if you do that for 2 weeks, and you did that every single time you blast over the course of a year or 2 years, I mean, Jason, you know the long game, and a lot of guys don't like to take a year or 2 years off when they're that enhanced, but think about the muscle gain that could, I mean, the science supports it. They'd be able to recover, especially if you pair the deloads right after that. That to me would be something really interesting to bring up a weak body part that I would have loved to see, as long as someone's joints.
So are then the other days, are you doing that with any other body parts, or just focusing on one weakness? So that's the only thing that gets done, like twice a week, double days, and then your other days are just 1 day of training, or?
Yeah. So the research was done on legs and squatting. So basically they just focused on that. So if it were me, I'm sitting here thinking, if they did that for every body part, like they would overreach so fast, they wouldn't be able to keep up. But I was thinking, for 2-3 weeks, if you wanted to do it just to bring up a weak body part, because I'm thinking of bodybuilding, not strength. I'm thinking, man, that's a great way to bring a weak body part up if you've got the anabolics to support it, and the recovery is there much more. But I would never want to see a natural athlete try and pull that off ever.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I, I haven't tried that. But I do think when, obviously you're enhanced, you can train the body part way more frequently, it seems like.
Sure.
So when I'm trying to bring something up, like calves were a big sticking point for me for years. I just freaking train them every day now. And that made them grow.
Right. Yeah.
I take a few days where I don't, but cause I'm not in the gym more than 4 or 5 days a week. But when I'm there, I'm doing some sort of calf work. Sometimes it's just body weight, and sometimes I'm getting under a machine or seated. And so for me, that's kind of the same thing. It's just, it's overreaching, just done a different way is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I know every time I go to train with you, you're over there either doing body weight calves while I'm doing my set.
Yep.
Or you're like, hey, I'm going to go do my calves. I'll be done after this. I'm like, all right, cool. I mean, I don't really have to train mine because they're kind of naturally good.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, dude, go have fun. But every time, man, you're always training them. So, but they've grown. They've grown like hell. Like you can't argue with that.
Nope, it worked. So yeah, I mean, it's the same type of thing, but I only do that with them. But I might actually try it. What you're talking about. I got to get off keto, but I might try it when I get off keto.
Yeah, we need to have an episode talking about that. You stepped away for a second. I don't know if you heard, but yeah, we may have to cover that once you're done and see how we both feel. And we know because we've done this 1,000 times. But
every time I've ever done it, man, I come out of it and I'm just so much more anabolic and responsive to everything. Like I just don't feel like I'm responding to my shit anymore. Like training, none of it. Like it's just not the same feeling that I had for like that year and a half after I did that big reset. So figure I'll try it again. Half the shit is just, the hobby of it, the playing around and seeing if you get the same result, but it always worked for me. So,
yeah. And that reminds me of something talking about, we haven't really talked about the nutrition side of this, but we're all big on high protein. Like we always have been. It's bodybuilding, but I know there's a lot of people that listen to the research community, and you got to remember, like, there's a lot of researchers. They're not coaches. They're not in the trenches seeing the same thing that we're seeing. And now there is a lot of research on higher protein, but I have noticed that a lot of, and it was earlier back on when it was real big just to do a gram per pound, right? That was kind of like the research supported that. But if you're a 200-pound guy and you're eating 200 grams of protein, I'm telling you right now, you can jack that up to 250, no problem at all. And it's going to be way better. And I've also noticed that the higher your protein is, the better you're going to recover. So if you're going to do this and you're going to overreach and take these deloads, what do you all think about that statement? Like having higher protein just supports what we do, and it supports growth and recovery and getting out of those overreaches. Would you guys agree with that?
I would. That said, I do find that certain people, you put their protein too high and it causes them to kind of bog down, constipation hits. So if that happens, and our listeners out there, your coaches or yourself, that maybe won't be the best strategy for you. You still have to listen to the body on how you're responding. So I can usually do for a few weeks 300 grams of protein, which is a lot for me. I'm usually, I did my math and recently I was down to 160, 170, but I've got it back up now to 250. I can do 300 for periods of time, and then my digestion starts to bog down.
Yeah.
So that would be my only caveat. But yes, if I try this, I will try to get it up to 300 for those 2 or 3 weeks that I do it, for sure. It only makes sense.
Yep. Good point.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Just, I would probably increase protein a little bit, especially for females too. I know I don't like to go too much higher than 1.2 grams per pound body weight, just because then it's, they recover better with more carbs too. So I only go just a little bit and then more carbs, because I feel like that just helps better too. And I've been working on going along with their cycles too. So we've been tracking that and doing cycle syncing. So I've been trying that with a couple of my clients and adjusting carbs based on where they're at in their cycle too and recovery. So, and it's been going really well so far. I have one girl who's been on an extended deload kind of, and I think mentally it was really, really tough on her. And I think that was almost worse. So I changed up programming a little bit to give her some more freedom of you can do a couple drop sets on a bicep curl or something, because that's not gonna freak her out because she's one of my power lifters, and she's like, God, I just want to like do my deadlifts and squats and stuff. And I'm like, okay, we can do that, but let's keep it like RPE 6 and like just go through the motion. So that way she's still able to do it and she feels good about it. And then the stress and of the mentality part of it is gone. And that's been seeming to help a lot too.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. Like, you know, with women in deloads or trying to restore hormones or anything like that, you know, you can take them to failure on a small body part, is what Kayla was putting, you know, so you can still get that intensity feel for them, but that's not going to tax the CNS as much as taking a squat set to failure or, you know, a heavy deadlift to failure. So it makes a lot of sense. And so you're kind of giving them that feeling of intensity that they want and crave, but it's in something that's very, not likely to cause a ton of CNS issues. So that's a good point to bring up. Yeah.
So I'm going to throw another old man question out here, and this is just me thinking, and Jason, knowing you, I think we're both going to agree on this. What do you think of this? As we've gotten older, and you especially, like you've changed your training. I've definitely changed my training to just more high reps, slow down, extreme mind muscle connection, and feel the rep deep in the muscle. And I've noticed that I've needed way more. I've needed way less deloads and time off and things like that. And I think maybe it's just because, you know, one, you're not taxing the CNS as hard when you're doing a chest press, you know, 20, 25 reps, taking your time and going slow, versus if you're going to crank out 8 to failure, that's going to be way different. And my joints don't feel like I need that deload as often. Do you think this would be, in your case or your clients, do you think this is another reason why, as we get older as physique enthusiasts, that we should start to gravitate more towards slowing down a little bit, focusing on more higher reps, and higher reps could be 15 for some people? Do you think that's a case here where this might be beneficial?
Yes. You know, I'd say around 37, I kind of changed the way I was training. You know, I feel like I was still, and I know that's very late into the game, but I've always been a slow bloomer. I feel like I was still just an intermediate trainer. And I really feel like I became an advanced trainer when I stopped necessarily just chasing a logbook, but making sure that I was connected with the muscle that's working. And that helped more of my imbalances as well. And like you said, my joints, I did have a spout last year where my knees were just messed up. They're fine now. Like I can go heavy again on legs. I don't know what it was, but overall I have found that, doing exactly what you're talking about, worrying more about tempos, making a lighter weight feel heavy, and having that connection with the muscle and make sure it's doing the work. That's going to develop your body better than, you know, if you're leaning back and doing everything in your curls, and, you know, you go lighter and it's just a complete concentration on the muscle. So, yeah, I think it's kind of something that I gravitated naturally towards because of getting, you know, older. But I also think that for a while there, my physique really responded to it. And by the time I was 40, I was at the best physique I've ever had. So yeah, I think there's something to be said for it for sure.
Yeah. Interesting. It's an interesting thing for our listeners to think about for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Are we ready for the next question?
I am ready.
Cool. I think, you know, just talking about like extended deload periods is another big thing is, you know, when people are in metabolic compensation, obviously we know that from lab work, but how does that kind of come about, like for you guys, where they do need an extended deload period where you think, okay, we're just in a hole and we just really need to go take a deload and just reset ourselves? You know, how do you, especially the mental side of it? I know like when that happened to me, the first time we went through it, that was the hardest part, was the mentality, because I came from like being a small and being a female. It was really hard for me to take that off because I always felt like I had to prove something and that like I can keep up with everyone and I am strong and I can like do this. You know, how do you, you know, mentally prepare somebody for that who's gone from 6 days a week, 2 hours in the gym every day?
I mean, for me, I'm always just, you know, Kayla, I'm always blunt and to the point. And so I don't sugarcoat it. You know, I mean, if I've got really shitty labs, I'm going to explain it, you know, break it down problem by problem and just say, hey, here's what you were doing. You were training 6 days a week. You were training for 2 hours. You were not probably eating enough. I'm going to do everything opposite that got you to that point. And that means pulling back in your training. And, you know, most people, by the time they get to me, they just want to feel better. And they've already usually seen a doctor. They've been between a few coaches who are good macro coaches or good, but they don't know how to get into the labs and issues. So yeah, you know, I most of my people, I don't have to beg and plead with to do it. They just do it. For people out there who are coaching the Gen Pop or the you know, the weekend warrior and people that say they can only do 5 days a week, I would literally really impress upon them their lab results. Once you have numbers for people, it's much easier than if you're like, oh, well, I think, you know, we got some problems here. Get those labs, get it shown that there's issues. And most people are logical because they want a long career.
This to me is where the work comes in as a coach, because you have to really, to get people to buy in, you've got to do, like you just said, Jason, like you've got to explain to them why. And most people, they want to understand why, because most of them don't understand this. Like it's different if you tell somebody, hey, I want you to do this, this, and this exercise because we're going to bring your chest up. But when you're telling someone you want them to train less, you have to take the time to explain to them why they got to the point that they're at, what you're going to do to make it better. And for me, empathy has been one of the biggest things. And I've had to just explain it in emails like, hey, I understand, like, this is hard. You don't want to go backwards. Like, you love training in the gym. You're in there 6 days a week. Like, you live for this. Like, it's who you are. It's what you've been doing the last 5 years, for example. And maybe it's an IPE pro that I train and she's a figure girl. And then we've got to take an extended off season longer than we thought to fix these things. So empathy kind of helps, because a lot of times at this point now, I've done it so much, I can say, hey, I had XYZ girl that had to do this as well. And like, here's what we did. So like, we can fix this, but just letting them know that this is something that you have to do and why, really, I've noticed people, they respect that and they buy in better. But when I first started doing it, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, when I first started really understanding labs, it was hard because I didn't understand them at the level that I do now. And I didn't have a lot of people that I could say, hey, I did this with Sally over here and got her fixed up. So, you know, for new coaches, it's going to be hard, but that's why you've got to spend the time explaining. And that's where you earn your money as a coach. Like, you can't just spit out macros and shit like that. You're going to have to really spend your time communicating with that person. And that just helps a lot.
Yeah, I agree with that. Cause coming from that background myself, and like I have a lot of very young, new, beginning athletes coming into this sport, and so like my challenge is always having to explain like, hey, like we need to take this deload, because I have a new girl and she was like, yeah, I pretty much go like all out to failure on everything, and I was like, but I have an RPE for you for a reason. Like, do we need to go over RPE? Like, and just getting them to understand that, because like, yes, like you feel good now and you feel great right now that you're like on fire and stuff, but like we need to take this slow if you want to have a long time in this, because like what happened to me, I don't want that to happen to other people. So that's why I'm implementing like deloads right now and trying to explain that early on so that they don't run into those problems, because most of the time they want to go for a long time. So that's my challenge as a coach now, is with new athletes, because you guys were talking about the age stuff too. Definitely see that, because I even have one as young as like 19, I think, training. So, which is awesome.
Well, that's good, because you can get her early and teach her the right way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good.
Yeah. So, all right. I think to wrap it up, we went over like a ton. Like there's a lot in here that we went over. So, and there's always just so much information out there, but like if you guys had to give like one piece of advice on deloads for someone who's doing this on their own or new to this, a new coach, you know, what would that like overall thing about deloads be, do you think? John, do you want to start?
Sure. I think people just need to remember, it's almost like eating carbs. Like you have to earn eating your carbs. Like if you're like me, like I need to train hard to earn eating the amount of carbs that my fat ass wants to eat. Right. So like I tell myself like, hey, I need to earn these things. To me, a deload is, most people won't think of it as earning it, but you need to train in such a way that over time you're going to need a deload. And if you're not training like that, you're not going to make the progress that you think that you're going to make, because you're just not training hard enough. So everyone should need a deload. I guess that's my point. And you need to really pay attention to how you feel coming out of your deload. Do you feel like you're ready to hit the gym? Are you super motivated? Is your strength going up? What did your sleep improve? Did all those things get better after your deload? Because they should be worse to cause you to deload. So that's kind of my takeaway point. This is a topic that to me is never sexy. People don't want to talk about it. It's kind of like when we talk about the importance of sleep. How many people tune out because they just don't, it's not sexy, even though it's probably in the top 1, 2, or 3 things that we can talk to clients about is sleep, right? To me, deloads are kind of like that. It's like, all right, this is super unsexy. How many people are going to listen to this episode? But I'm happy with this episode. Like, we've really covered everything that I think this is going to help a lot of people. So that's kind of my feedback there.
Awesome. Jason, how about you? What's your like one piece of expert advice?
I mean, use your deloads, people. That's it. Like,
there you go.
Use it. Do it. I'm telling you, I used to be someone who didn't think I needed to do them ever either. And, you know, I've seen so many issues with people. It's important. It's important for your longevity. So, you know, I hope we've given you some information to help you do that. You know, if you're someone who's going to struggle taking them, then just schedule it. Just say every 10 weeks or every 8 weeks, I'm going to do this. And you know you're going to do it. You know it's coming up. You'll work your ass off, hopefully, to push into it, earn it, as John says, and then take your deload. So that's my piece of advice.
Yeah, I like that. I think, you know, going kind of off that point of scheduling it, like I'm the type of person that's very type A and I love to train. So having a scheduled deload is something that I need. But, you know, if you're doing this on your own, like overall, just think like, look at biofeedback, like have it scheduled, but like look at yourself and be like, how do I feel? Is my training feeling good? I think that's the biggest part of it is just biofeedback overall. So, and then just go from there. So yeah, I think that was really good, you guys. I think we gave a lot of really good info on that.
I think so too.
Yeah, Kayla, you're kicking ass. Thank you for putting this together, keeping us organized. It's I thought you were going to start talking about menstrual cycles and training and deloads, and I thought this is why you're here, because I'm not talking about that. Jason doesn't want to talk about it either, but we didn't go there, so maybe another episode. We'll see.
I'll get someone to, like a guest to come on and we'll go full deep dive on that stuff. Cause I've been finding that super interesting lately and I'm just starting to implement it now, but it's just, I think it definitely is a game changer, especially for females. So, that way we can just optimize our bodies more. So we're just complicated, but we can make babies. So that's pretty cool, I guess. But
you know, it's just, there's just certain things you need to take into consideration when you're training a female, you know. Keep in mind that stress affects them hormonally. You know, it's just a little different.
Yep. All right. Anything coming up, you guys, that you want to just let everyone know about, or anything we want to wrap up for the listeners?
I'm excited about to possibly talk about keto here in the next maybe month or so. Jason, I guess we can see how you're feeling. I'll be finished up. I've got about 4 more weeks and I'll be done, because that's about mentally I'm ready to just go back to eating some carbs.
Yeah, by 4 weeks I'll be in a good groove. So yeah, that would work. Talk about it.
That would be a good timeline.
I'm monitoring my blood sugars. They were 92 and 95 the last 2 times on carb morning fasted. So I'm gonna try to get those down to around 80, and so that's my goal. So I'll kind of keep track of that and be able to share some of that too.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week then.
See ya.
See ya.